In this video, I'm going to take you through a hip rotation warm-up through various positions. So start on your back. We're going to be doing 5 different movements, each one getting progressively more difficult. And as you're swinging your legs from side to side, I want you to open up your hips. And as this gets more comfortable, then you can take your hands off the ground and keep working that hip rotation from side to side. We're working hip internal and external on both hips at the same time. And we're going to be here for about 30 more seconds with this first exercise. Feel free to just go where your body wants you to go and play around with sort of the depths of the hip rotation. Keep going here, left and right. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going in the video, but the goal is to feel your hips start to loosen up. All right, as we're transitioning to the next exercise, we're going to go into almost like a seated pigeon where we're reaching and dropping the pelvis down on the opposite side. So here with your left leg forward, you're turning the right front pelvis as you reach and open up. So here you should feel it in the back of the left hip, which is the front leg. Keep going, stretch into it, back away, stretch in, back away. I'm taking it to the end range of motion each time. And then switch sides. Again, reach and stretch, turning the hip, closing the gap of the hip with each rotation. I like this one in this variation because with the opposite hip pulled back like that, you can really open up the hips with each one and feel that deep backside of the glute stretch. We have a few more seconds here, and then we're going to transition to our next exercise. So with this next movement, we're going from hip rotation up into a partial kneeling position, each time using the glute. So in this one, I'm using my left glute and left outer rotators to pull up into the movement. I'm slightly pulling my core in and tucking the glutes under as I get into that movement. So I'm feeling the core work, I'm feeling the glutes and outer hip rotators to drive that movement pattern. Switch sides. And keep going with the same thing. So here my right side is a little bit more challenging, just because it's harder to get into that movement. And I'm just sort of finding where it feels good each time, playing around with what muscles it takes to get me up out of that position. Don't aim for perfection on these, but rather complete the movement, use some hand assistance, make sure that you're feeling the back muscles working to complete the motion. We have 2 more exercises, so go into a tall kneeling position. Turn the hips in and out, in and out. With this one, I want you to really think about trying to keep your pelvis fairly level and really just moving through that front leg. You'll feel this one all the way from the foot and ankle up to the hip joint. As you close into that movement, you'll feel the inside of the hip joint there closing off, and then as you open up, you'll feel the outer ankle stretch and the hip open up into that position. Got about 15 more seconds here on the second side. Turning left, right. Again, trying to maintain a tall core position, really focusing on getting that rotation through the hips and not having your spine complete the rotation. And as we get into our final exercise, it's going to be in all fours, and you're going to do a big windmill movement. So we're taking the hip through a big outer hip rotation. You'll feel the glute working in this one. And as I've mentioned on the prior exercise, you want the core to stay stable as you kick that hip up, out, and away. A few more seconds here before we switch. Trying to keep the pelvis level, really working the outer hip that's kicking back, but also making sure that you're not doing a huge weight shift to complete the movement with the opposite leg. So here my left leg is supporting the movement and my right hip is really stabilizing the movement. So I'm staying strong through the right hip and glute as the left leg is completing the movement.